Hello everyone. We are carrying on this little mini-series, working our way up the rating ladder. I'm rated 1029 at the moment, and we're going to do another 15 plus 10, see what we get. So, not feeling 100% today. I had an odd sleep and managed to pull a muscle right deep in my arse as well. Okay, so, and also, I've got a dodgy foot, I'm fasting today, so it's coffee and tea only. So we've got a D4. So I'm going to go for like the Black Knight's Tango, we'll see what we get. We might have a London, it's very common at this level, but Knight F6 is one of the most standard responses to 1D4, along with D5. Opponent was rated 951 from Austria by the look of things. Okay, and we have C4. Okay, so this is the Black Knight's Tango. So we're hoping that our opponent plays... okay, this is actually the best move. This is much better than Knight C3. Knight C3 allows pawn to E5. Okay, so what we're going to do now is I think E6 is probably the move. And if they come after the knight, it gives us the option of going in there. But basically, this is now an Indian game. Okay. And opening this knight, we're going to wait for A3. We're not going to take. Okay, they've blocked. No problem. So I don't need to take now. Okay, I'm attacking this pawn. It's defended. This pawn is undefended, but I have no easy way of attacking it. So castles is a thought now. Yeah, why not? Let's get castled. So white's got decent control over the centre here with the C and D pawns. But the general idea now is to swing this knight over to the king side and then think about striking up for the centre. Okay, they've kicked. Now, I'm not inclined to give up this bishop, I don't think, right now. If I could have prompted b takes, then maybe. I don't think I want to put the bishop on e7 though. Having said that, I also can't play it back to a5 because of a4 bishop here, that. So maybe the right thing to do is to trade off here and then think about putting my own pawns on the dark squares, leaving him with the only dark square bishop on the board. Okay, let's try that. And you know, the reasoning for that was because I couldn't find a good place for that bishop. Okay, so now we're a bit behind in terms of central control due to pawns. However, we are not behind in terms of piece development because both sides have two pieces out into the board. White is also going to take a few moves to castle kingside. So should we be striking for the centre now? Well, I'm not sure we should. Certainly not with e5, because e5 is attacked 3 times and it's defended only once, so that doesn't even make sense. So rook e8 is an idea, but let's also consider the move d5, because that is attacked only by this pawn, right? So if d5, c takes d5, knight takes d5, I then have a central knight. Okay, and it also breaks up his pawns a little bit. Question is, does it improve prospects for my remaining bishop, which is still to develop? d6 is also moved. That's on the quieter side. d6 and then e5, but still it's got 3 attackers and it would only have 2 defenders there. Let's revisit this idea. d5. If they take, I mean, if they don't take, I'm threatening to capture there on c4. If they push on, I think that's fine. So here in if takes, takes, or here takes, pawn takes, we've then kind of opened up the e-file. Or I could play rook e8, then with the idea of this, takes, pawn takes. Don't know. Let's play rook e8. I think this is a move that I know is not making my position any worse. Right? I'm not really worried about this because, okay, so it's a moot point anyway. Zara. Okay, d5 now. takes, I have knight takes or pawn takes. Pawn takes is okay. It kind of leaves my pawn a little bit isolated because the c pawn can't come and back it up right now. If they take, I could then also just take with the knight. Or I can play d6, e5. d6, e5, I've then got 3 defenders, haven't I? On the e5 square, which I feel like is kind of important. I am going to play d6. I'm going to play it quietly. There's no reason to be extravagant at this point. Idea is e5. Like I said, putting the pawns on the dark squares favours me to some degree because I've only got a light squared bishop, but I've got 2 knights. Okay, so he's brought his bishop out to d3. He's preparing to short castle. Zara! Oi! No one wants to hear that. Go and do it somewhere else. Okay. Bishop's looking down h7. Now e5 now. If he takes, I can take. So he's got the 3 attackers, but I also have 3 defenders. Let's do it. Let's open up based on the principle that I've got a castle king. White doesn't have a castle king. And I've even managed to centralize my rook onto e8, so I've got a rook lined up with that. So okay, he's taken. And we have 2 real options. We've got pawn takes, we've got knight takes. Pawn takes, I'm actually just threatening a fork. My queen defends this knight, so I'm going to take with a pawn, I think. If knight takes, no, I like the idea of the fork. If he moves his bishop, we could trade queens and then win the knight. That's if I get the pawn fork in. Does my opponent notice? Okay, so he's retreated the bishop all the way back here. Not necessarily a bad move. He has kind of blocked in the rook a little bit. Maybe bishop c2 might have been preferable. I don't know. So what's the situation? We've got 2 attackers, 2 defenders on e5, so he can't take because he'll be taking a pawn and losing a piece. So, and also we notice that the queens are facing off against each other. So my first thought is bishop g4, pinning this knight. Now if the queens trade off, I'm threatening to take the knight and ruin his safety on that side of the board. So I'm going to play that move. I think that looks like a jolly good move. I'm feeling okay about my position. I've used nearly 4 minutes. My opponent's still around the 15-minute mark, so he's been playing quite quickly. But you don't see a lot of d4, c4, I don't think, at this level. You see a lot more Londons and things like that. Oh, this is my big cup of tea. Look at that. Beauty. Big Denby coffee pot. But it's got black tea and ginkgo biloba leaves in it. Apologies to anyone who needs the loo, but has to be done. Okay. Oh, I think he's seen the error of his ways there. You see, so he moved the bishop, he over-retreated, now he's wanted to stick it here so that if I trade queens, he can recapture with a rook, which makes sense. But he's got a problem now, hasn't he? Because this knight is pinned by the bishop, and I can attack the pinned piece with a pawn. So, pawn to e4, I'm attacking the knight. He can't move the knight and with check or counterattack my queen because they're too far away. So that has to be a good move, doesn't it? And then he trades queens. And then he moves his knight. Well, what if I trade queens first? He's going to recapture probably with a rook, but then e4 is still a threat because the knight is now pinned but not against the rook, which is a higher value piece. So if I take rook takes, or is he thinking of recapturing with a bishop? So if I take queen, bishop takes queen, then this pin is off because it's the pieces of the same value on g4 and d1. That's interesting. Is that why he moved his bishop back to here? I mean, it's definitely a thought, isn't it? So what if I just push now? If I push, he trades queens, I get the open file. I'm also inhibiting this bishop to some degree. I think that looks okay. If I push and he trades queens. If I take the knight, he's going to take with a queen. And I don't see any value in that. I don't think that improves my position right now. I could also just think about dodging the queen out of the way, maintaining this pin. So that's like coming up with a twist on the whole plan, right? Queen here. I've then got 3 defenders, right? So he can't capture, because if he takes, I just take, and this knight is still pinned. So let's think about that. I think that's okay. Maybe I'm threatening then rook AD8, hitting the queen. Queen will have to come here, but I'm still now threatening this. So I've just kind of changed the rules of that whole tactical problem by removing the whole idea of the queen trade. And now, doesn't e4 work? I believe it does. A lot of people would be tempted to play rook AD8 and hit the queen, but that if the queen moves to here, and the pin is still on, if the queen moves to here, then I still have that. So yeah, that might still be fine. Bishop takes, it doesn't work, he just literally loses the bishop. I could even take with the queen. But this, to me, is not 9-5-1 level play. I think moving the bishop all the way back to there was interesting. Okay. So this is... I don't know, I think he's lashing out here. So queen takes... The knight is still pinned. The knight can't move and attack my queen, so there. And I'm also threatening b2. Okay. Interesting stuff. Now, if I take the knight, he takes the bishop, I take on g2. Kind of like that. And my queen might come into h4, yeah? If I retreat the bishop, we might get g4. Then I take the knight, g takes h5. Very bad pawns. Very bad pawns indeed, precious. So the question is, which is best? If I take the knight with my bishop, he has to recapture here as well. So we've got many ways of opening up the g-file. Okay, so let's talk them through. Okay, scenario 1: pawn takes knight, pawn takes bishop, pawn takes g2, king takes g2. That's fine. That's good, right? Scenario 2: retreat the bishop to h5. If g4, I take knight, g takes here. I can play queen then to there and win the pawn back. That's also good. I really can't decide. Option 3, bishop takes here, pawn takes here, because queen can't. I take. They're all good. Okay, let's try this one. Let's see what happens. Can't really choose. This is actually the least forcing, in a way, so it might not be the best one, because he doesn't have to push g4. I'm just curious to see what he does do. We're down to 7 minutes here, so need to get a crack on. Yeah, my hunch is that maybe just, you know, an immediate capture with bishop or pawn was preferable there. Okay, he's done it. He's done it. Fantastic. Okay, now I think if I take knight, queen takes isn't on at all. Pawn takes here, but then I have a fork on king and pawn. In fact, it might even be mate in 2, which did I just miss that? Check. He has to go here. Queen g2 is mate. Well, maybe I just found accidentally stumbled onto the right attack. Who knows? Oh, I was thinking about picking up a pawn, but this is much better. And that's checkmate. Okay, wicked. Right. Well, let's see how that happened. How did goalie 111 lose the game? Okay, so we've got standard opening, Black Knight's Tango, best response, Knight F3 is the best move here. We will do an analysis after this, but first of all I want to go through it and answer that question. Why was the game lost? So far this is all standard. I bet this has been seen a million times. And I decided to trade because I couldn't find a good home for my bishop. Comes here, here, then where's he going to go? Right, so if you can't find a good home for a piece, trade it off. Okay, rook e8. And this all looks really solid. Okay, and I'm playing quiet moves, unassuming moves. He develops his bishop, right? This is move number 1 for that light square bishop. I push. We trade in the middle. Bishop now retreats to c1. And after the pin on the knight, the bishop now comes back to c2. So he's lost the tempo, he's lost the turn at that point, right? And as a result of this, we find ourselves on move 12. White has played, this is White's move 12. White has played this, he still hasn't castled his king. And now we had a think, and we've decided to maintain this. This is our advantage, is this pin on the knight. But based on various ideas, right, if we trade queens, we've got bishop takes, that defends the knight, the pin is off, right? This pin is a strength for me, it's an imbalance on the board that's in my favour. The knight can't move. So I want to keep that advantage. But there are various ways for White to dissolve that advantage, for example, by just trading queens. I don't want to allow him to do that, so queen e7. Don't know if it's the right move, it felt good. Now he castles. And now I decide to attack the pinned piece. Okay, this is a pointless trade. I don't see any reason for that. This is a good bishop. It's defended on c3 by a pawn. It's gunning down towards the king's side. Leave it where it is. There is no point in this move at all that I can see. In fact, what it's achieved is it's put now a third attacker on this knight. Okay, he tries to kick. And here we have a choice. Now, wasn't sure about this move. But I figured after g4, if he went for the double kick, which he did, then we are absolutely fine, because that pawn takes that. And the key thing here is the queen can't take, but the pawn is looking at this. And I think after this move, it's forced mate in 2. So what did he do wrong? Well, I think kind of allowing this pin when there is a pawn that can attack the pin piece, that was the beginning of White's woes. So let's go backwards a bit. Okay, so I've pinned the knight. And now what you should see is, right, if you're White, what you should see is this knight is in a pin, right? Can my knight be attacked by a pawn? Well, yes, it can. So how about the move e4 here? That stops the black advancing e5 to e4 and attacking the pin piece with the pawn. And maybe that's all it took. So that's my guess. Let's see what the fish has got to say. So copy this, and we pull up an analysis board. I'm going to paint this in, paste it in anonymously. We're going to do the analysis and hit review. And let's see what the engine thinks of that game. I'm pretty happy with that game. I think that went very well. I am very happy with that game. A 94.9 accuracy from Black. 5 mistakes made by White. So let's X to flip the board. And let's go through it. Let's see what the machine says. We've done our effort at analysis. This is Book. This is Black Knight's Tango. That's the best move. Excellent. I'm happy with e6. Okay, all good. Pinning the knight. book move. This is the end of the book moves, right? So we've had 4 book moves from each player. Bishop d2 is excellent. And this is good, but okay, it's saying trade-off. But margins, quarter of a pawn, don't matter. Okay, he kicks, and now I trade. Best move, right? I knew it was the best move because I couldn't find anything better. Well, so I was confident it was the best move. Okay, now rook e8 it doesn't like. There was something much better. Going straight in with a knight to annoy this bishop. And the bishop can't go there or there because it gets captured outright. If it stays where it is, it can recapture with a b pawn. If it goes here, I can take it as well. I don't know. I don't know about that. But again, it's half a pawn difference, so ignore. All right, so this e3 is in inaccuracy. d6 is good. Again, it just wants me to throw the knight into the center. Bishop d3. e5 here is best. Okay, now that we've got sufficient firepower, we've got a knight here, we've got a rook here. You know, we've played d6. So now we can do that. Okay. And we're threatening to win the knight, so this comes with the immediate threat of pawn e4. Okay, so he takes, we take back, better move, knight takes. Now, 0.4 pawn difference, ignore. Bishop retreats b1, I thought that was a mistake, it is. Okay, now I pin. Okay, a machine wanted me to trade here. I completely missed that and remove white's castling rights. Again, it's half a pawn difference though. Half a pawn difference. So here it says white has a slight edge. White has the bishop pair. He's doing okay. Another mistake now. And now queen e7, really pleased with that. I'm really pleased with that. It took some thinkering, right? But we got there in the end. Okay, now this is a mistake. Why? Because you've got a pinned piece. And there is a pawn that can move forward and attack the pinned piece. Great move. Pointless. Completely pointless. And now we've got even more firepower now looking down at that side of the board. That was the best move. Swing. Bishop h5 is the best move. Let's have a look at the lines on this actually while we're here. Okay. Alright, so there's the 10th of a pawn in it. They were all good moves. That's what I thought, right? In fact, now it's had a little bit of a think, then there's 100th of a pawn better to take the knight. Forget about it, doesn't matter. They're all best. Okay, that's fine. And now we take, and now it says he has to play bishop f5. Just giving up the knight. But it's -4 now. Okay, this is a mistake because it's mate in 2, bang, and mate. Right, 2300 game from yours truly. Very, very pleased with that performance. So what do we take from that game? You can play slow build-ups, you can play slow starts. You don't have to be looking for fireworks all the time. I know that the machine wanted me to be throwing my knight into the position. It wanted me to trade queens and open things up. Maybe that was absolutely the best thing. But, and again, it came down to a tactic. It came down to my opponent missing the fact that his pin piece could be attacked by a pawn. And like we say, that was the beginning of the end. So let's look at the graph here, right? Okay, so it's very, 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 very even, right? White's doing fine here. We pin the knight. And after this, I'm happy, but I'm still less than a pawn in front. This is marginal. But after this move, suddenly it's -2.4. The whole game has turned on that move because I have a relatively straightforward tactic of attacking the pin piece with the pawn. And from that point on, it just all collapses. Okay, he didn't need to do that at all. And before you know it, the game's over. Excellent. Well, that's the kind of chess that I want to be playing. I want to be playing at 2300 level. Okay. An opponent did not do bad. The engine says my opponent played at 1650 from a 950. So go figure, it happened. So we both played well above our rating, but it just shows what you're capable of. All good stuff. Okay, I hope you enjoyed that one, everybody. Thank you for watching. Do appreciate it. See you soon.